On NTV tonight, Flora Tino is managing the sign language interpretation. I'm Mark Masai.
My name is Gladys Gashanjo. Tonight, we begin with crippling malaria outbreak in parts of the country. 23 people have died of malaria in the last 2 weeks in North Hor, Marsabit County, and more than 500 others are undergoing treatment.
The areas affected are North Hor Ward, Dukana, Ileret, and Loyangalani, among others. NTV now will be bringing us that report shortly. Well, healthcare workers in Baringo County are expressing fears that the worst is yet to come with the outbreak of malaria in the county.
The area is still classified as dangerous and disturbed, a label that has kept 8 workers who provide the much needed alternative to government healthcare away. And as NTV's Brenda Wanga reports, 4 more people died today from the killer disease, bringing the death toll to 13.
At one of the only 2 functioning government-operated health facilities in this area, the most vulnerable of society, the women and children wait patiently on hospital benches for their turn to be attended to by medical staff. These are the few lucky ones who have made it to a health facility in the midst of a crippling and biting malaria outbreak in this county that has left 13 people dead so far. They know that it will be a long wait. The staff here is depleted. Nurses are on strike.
We realize now our facilities could not handle the malaria cases because of nurses strike. The nurses there are few nurses in the facilities, and coupled with the nurses went for strike now, it is ending to 3 months. And what wasn't it is they've stopped their salaries. Those who are working in a small way, they have really pulled out completely.
The outbreak is made that much worse by the fact that most of the non-governmental organizations that provided alternative health care to the people here left at the beginning of the year. The effects of a spate of insecurity that rocked the county.
Beginning of April this year, we had a lot of insecurity issue, and the mapping of the places, dangerous and disturbed, really scared a lot of partners. Like one partner to pull completely call USID through Aria Usasi.
And for a county that is already dealing with limited healthcare facilities, the departure of the NGOs mean that the residents have to rely on the government-run health facilities, and these are few and far apart.
At Ryoko Ward, we only have 2 facilities that are partially operating.
The situation is made that much worse by the fact that residents can't even access preventive measures like the availability of mosquito nets to protect themselves from the insects that are currently causing havoc in this county. The deadly disease struck the area following the short rains that led to an increase in the breeding of the malaria-causing mosquitoes. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
To our top story tonight, we begin with crippling malaria outbreak in parts of the country. 23 people have died of malaria in the last 2 weeks in North Hor, Marsabit County.
More than 500 others are undergoing treatment. The areas affected are North Hor Ward, Dukana, Ileret, and Loyangalani, among others. NTV's Safi Godana now reports.
5-year-old Boya is among the close to 600 people suffering from malaria in North Horse County. According to his grandmother, the boy has been ill for the last 1 week, but was brought to this medical center just 2 days ago.
It is a very sorry state of affairs here in Dukana Ward, the epicenter of the severe malaria outbreak that so far claimed 23 lives and over 500 others are testing positive.
This 4-year-old boy is struggling to sit up. His mother says he has been sick for 2 weeks. His baby sister is just 2 months old and she too has malaria. According to medics, patients have been reluctant to visit health centers close to them because of the annual cultural festival that is ongoing, where no Gabra is expected to spend the night outside their homestead.
The guys who are affected are those who are living in settlement camps with the livestock. Those camps are about tens to hundreds of kilometers away from the
I brought here 11 patients and 7 others are still at home.
This 11-year-old boy and his 15-year-old brother are Bonaya Mamo's children, and they are all infected with malaria. says their condition is worsening by the day.
We've taken measures in the future so that there is this burden of health crisis in the county. As a starting point, I have already allocated 60 million in our budget so that 10,000 people across the county will benefit from NHIF card. This card will take care of the family.
Some patients such as this one are in critical condition. Some can hardly walk or stand on their feet. Others, such as this one, are suffering from cerebral malaria. She no longer recognizes her own child, and she moves from one hospital bed to another. This patient here spent her night on this cowskin because of lack of enough facilities in the wards.
Facility that you see is already overwhelmed. It's already overwhelmed. There are no equipment, there are no beds, there are no drugs, nothing. Communities, because of the cultural background, because of also this particular season celebrations and stuff are like very rigid, not intended to come to the hospital.
However, through the national and county governments and the Kenya Red Cross, some medical personnel, anti-malaria drugs, and mosquito nets have been donated to affected families to curb the situation.
The time that they have to be on high alert of malaria. One, because of the things that we have experienced from July. Two, because of the health worker strike, specifically the nurses strike. So this has actually disrupted health service provision in most of these rural facilities.
Safi Godan Mamo, NTV Dukana Marsabit.
Speaking of health service provision, as mentioned by that gentleman, Safi's report, the Kenya National Union of Nurses has hit back at the Health Cabinet Secretary Cleopa Mailu, who termed the strike as illegal, insisting that they will not resume work until their demands are met.
The union's acting chairperson, Jocelyn Kwasi, said they will not be intimidated by threats from the Council of Governors to sack striking nurses, urging members countrywide. Today, Kwasi was speaking today in Mombasa when he joined nurses in demonstrations that started at the Post General Hospital through Abdel Nasser Road, Nkrumah Road, all the way to the governor's offices. However, only the officials were allowed into the premises where they met county officials.
Issues of injustices, the issues that have been raised by nurses since 1997. If you want to sack nurses, so be it. But that is not a problem. Even those nurses who are going to be employed are our members and shall proceed on strike the following day.
Let's shift our focus to the upcoming presidential election. The National Council of Churches of Kenya is asking President Uhuru Kenyatta to put on hold the Jubilee Party's push for amendments to electoral laws at least until October 26th. The repeat election has been concluded.
At the two-day conference of NCCK's leadership, Secretary General Peter Karanja said the current atmosphere in the country is not healthy and wants President Uhuru Kenyatta and NASA leader Raila Odinga to loosen their stance on several issues about the fresh presidential election for the sake of peace in the country.
Leila Mohammed with that report.
You can pass that law in Parliament, but that law will not pass through the court of the people.
Sasa jameni, tukirekebisha ndio haya makosa isipatikane, tumefanya makosa.
The National Council of Churches of Kenya is concerned about the increasingly hardline positions adopted by Jubilee and NASA, and especially the Jubilee Party's quest to make changes to electoral laws.
We think that Jubilee should consider holding back on those amendments. We cause the 26th of October to hold the elections. The program calls upon the top leadership of the Jubilee Party and the National Supreme Alliance to remove their hard-line positions regarding the management of the fresh presidential election and seek what is best for the people of Kenya.
The church feels that political players are using the election as a gimmick to solve deep-seated pains, which should not be the case.
Jubilee to put Kenya to that scenario which is tragic for the country, whatever benefit any political actors may get from it.
It is in this regard that we urge both NASA and Jubilee to reconsider and drop all conditions they have put forth before the fresh presidential elections are held.
With 22 days to the rerun of the presidential election, the NTV says it's confident that the IEBC can undertake the task at hand and should be free from political interference to do its job well. The church feels that the agenda by NASA to make key changes so late in the contest have to raise even more disquiet in the country.
For most of the last 2 years, politicians have mostly stood in the way of IEBC getting ready to mount the elections, which is their constitutional mandate.
The business community feels the situation is hurting the economy, and the international community has warned the country's leadership against creating a situation that will ruin the stability of the country.
The church is worried that the grandstanding by political players in the country is not only affecting the future elections of this country, however, it is also affecting the social and the economic life of many Kenyans, and they want this to stop before August 26th this year. Leila Mohammed, NTV, Kiambu County.
That's not the only last of calls going to the leaders. A team from the Carter Center Observer Group has begun arriving in the country ahead of the October 26th repeat election on the invitation of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission.
The group says President Uhuru Kenyatta should stop targeting the judiciary, while Raila Odinga should refrain from attacking the IEBC. The group has also made a raft of recommendations which, in its view, would aid the process of conducting the presidential election. Carter Center's Ken Mijungu report has been castigated by the opposition for the hasty manner in which it gave the August polls a note of approval, but that did not stop them from accepting the invite to monitor the repeat polls.
The Carter Center observers led by former U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, which was accused of prematurely declaring that the August election was conducted in a free, transparent and credible manner, are back to monitor the October 26th election on the invite of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. The group has made recommendations ahead of the repeat presidential election, among them that President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga avoid targeted attack on judiciary and the IEBC, which they say undermines the independence of the judiciary and reduces the dwindling trust in the IEBC. The group wants the IEBC to be transparent and involve all key electoral players in the planning process of fresh elections by holding regular consultative stakeholder forums to consult and update the players on the progress. The IEBC should take the necessary steps based on the court ruling to ensure compliance with the legal provisions regarding results tallying and announcements, and to ensure returning officers use the prescribed forms. The center recommends that poll staff should be trained in corrective measures and the returning officers made aware of their responsibilities. IEBC is also to establish a complementary system that will guarantee a seamless process in case technology fails and make its existence known to the stakeholders. A countrywide public test of the integrated electoral management system should be done before the fresh election to enhance public trust, in line with the concerns made by NASA regarding the IT system. The Carter Center advises that the IEBC should grant access to its IT system for inspection and audit to independent IT experts and experts from the political parties and the civil society. Most of these recommendations have, however, been suggested by the IEBC and given to the political parties. NASA has rejected the proposals, insisting on the reducible minimums proposed by them, including the removal of senior IEBC officers, including the Chief Executive Officer, Ezra Chiloba. The Jubilee Party, however, wants the IEBC to independently run the election.
As a party, we have no conditions. We have no minimum conditions. We have no irreducible minimum conditions. We are ready for this election. We believe in the independence of IEBC as an institution to manage the elections, deriving its mandate from the Constitution.
More observers are expected in the country on the 20th, just 6 days before before the election. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
Elsewhere, NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga has come to the defense of Supreme Court Registrar Esther Nyayaki, who is under investigation by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission.
Odinga claims the EACC is being used by the government to harass individuals and institutions that have played their constitutional roles well, instead of targeting IEBC officials who bungled the election and led to its nullification.
Our reporter Andrew Cheng with more.
Odinga had been meeting leaders and supporters from the Kisii community at the Okoa Kenya offices in Lavington. He says that Kenyans should rise to protect institutions that are defending the constitution and the law from what he calls the ruling party's onslaught.
Jubilee has gone ahead to use the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to investigate the Registrar of the Supreme Court, Esther Nyayaki, whose crime was to deliver a scrutiny report of election results ordered by the court.
His statements have been backed in part by the Law Society of Kenya, who wrote to the EACC saying that the undergraft body had no business investigating the Registrar of the Supreme Court because any probe on her conduct in such a case was the responsibility of the Judicial Service Commission. The Supreme Court Registrar has been under investigation by EACC ever since a complaint was filed against her by one Rashid Mohammed on allegations that the report she led in preparing during the hearing of the presidential election petition could have misled the 4 Supreme Court judges who voted to nullify the August 8th presidential election.
But the same Jubilee is standing with the people like Ezra Chiloba and the IBC that committed irregularities and illegalities in the elections. This trend has to stop, but it will not stop on its own. We must stop it.
Odinga says the NASA protests against the IEBC and against the amendments to the election laws will continue every Friday and Monday. He says meetings with the IEBC, the latest held yesterday till late in the evening, have not yielded agreeable terms on how the fresh presidential election will be conducted.
Do not be cheated that NASA has some agreement with IBC and that there's some progress that we are party to. We have no such agreement and our faith in IBC remains zero.
In the next protests, NASA says police should protect those exercising their constitutional right and should not use force to disperse them as has happened before.
That a band of hooligans in the name of police officers can have the impudence to walk into the halls of residence of our students, stripping some of them naked, bludgeoning them, beating some of them senseless, is an act that must be condemned in the strongest terms possible by every right-thinking Kenyan.
21 days to the election, and to many, there is not a very optimistic picture that is painted across the political landscape, with all the political sides yet to agree on very many fundamental issues that will affect how the fresh poll is conducted. Andrew Ochieng, NTV.
Parliament's ad hoc committee looking into electoral law reforms continued with public hearings despite calls from opposition to the public to snub it.
A number of civil society and religious groups invited to give views before the committee are yet to do so, even though the public hearings close on Thursday.
The Kenya Private Sector Alliance, while presenting its views, backed some of the amendments, but cautioned the committee against interfering with the IEBC's work.
The second day of public hearings on the proposed review on electoral laws, the Joint Committee of the National Assembly and Senate picked it up from where it left off, listening to views from a public that is still pointedly divided on the content and intent of the amendments.
Bunge litatengeneza sheria za kutatua mizozo ya uchaguzi, lakini kwa wakati unaofaa. Swali ni je, tunapokimbia kuweka sheria, licha ya kwamba sheria hizi zinaingiana na sheria zingine ambazo zipo, wakati unafaa? Na je, huu ndio wakati mwafaka wa kuweka sheria wakati tunaona vema kwamba taifa limegawanyika?
Yule ambaye aliinterrupt na hiyo form 34, vile wamesema ya kwamba anaweza fungwa miaka 5 hiyo miaka mitano isimame, isipunguzwe na kusiwe na faini, kwa sababu kukiwa na faini yule mtu atarudi afanye hiyo kazi, turudi tena mahali ambapo tumekuwa kwa saa hizi.
The Kenya Private Sector Alliance, KEPSA, backed some of the amendments but called on the committee to be cautious not to interfere with the IEBC's work.
The idea of laws that can shorten and manage an electioneering period are important, because we cannot afford as a nation to be permanently in elections. Right now, most of the ordinary Kenyans are suffering. When we talk of business community, it includes the ordinary people. It includes the people doing little businesses, doing small trade around the whole country.
In our discussion with IEBC, we said what we'll bring as a message here is that whatever we do, we ensure that it doesn't hamper what the IEBC is trying to do right now. So as you consider these amendments and all that, we hope that they will not have an impact of hampering the IEBC from doing the election by the 26th.
The Kenya National Chamber of Commerce also backed the amendments, saying they will reduce the uncertainty that at the moment bodes ill for the country's business environment.
In the best interests of the business community, some of these amendments may be necessary. And my fear, as the fear of many businessmen, is should we go back to that situation of August 8th where the Supreme Court gives us the same verdict, we will suffer even more.
The hearings continued even as opposition MPs had asked the public not to present their views to the Joint House Committee, saying the team was illegally constituted as members from the opposition were not a part of it.
The perception created out there by our colleagues who are saying that we are Jubilee Select Committee. That is not true. This is a select committee of both houses. They are the ones who relegated their responsibility by being on the streets. And this is where they have been elected to come and prosecute their matters.
A number of religious groups and civil society organizations invited to give views, but yet to do so with just one day to go to the end of the public hearings. The committee still hopes to get IEBC's perspective by the close of the hearings tomorrow. Sheila Sendeo, NTV.
Staying with the election laws, National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi says that when the controversial election laws amendment bills are tabled in Parliament, there will be debated whether the opposition participates or not.
Speaking in Mombasa today, Muturi said the new election laws are constitutional. The National Super Alliance, NASA, has threatened to boycott debate on the proposed amendments to the election laws.
The Constitution set up the quorum threshold of 50. It does not say the 50 must be from, must be women, youth, persons living with disability, this political party or the other political party. All that is the Constitution requires is they are members of Parliament. So if some choose not to be present, but there are enough to form quorum, business is transacted and the proceedings are not invalid. It's very clear in Article 124 of the Constitution.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has asked the court to dismiss a petition by 3 voters seeking to have commissioners barred from conducting the forthcoming repeat presidential election.
In their defense, the IEBC commissioners told Judge John Mativo that the High Court does not have jurisdiction to hear and determine the matter and asked the judge to throw out the case.
As Enoch Sikolia reports, the IEBC has also downplayed a case filed by Third Way Alliance party leader Ekuru Aukot seeking to compel IEBC to include his name on the ballot for the repeat presidential contest.
Dr. Ekuru Aukot wants the court to compel IEBC to have his name on the ballot when Kenyans vote again for the president. But defending its decision of limiting the repeat presidential poll to a Raila Odinga versus Uhuru Kenyatta rematch, IEBC have asked the High Court to sustain its move. The commission argues that the subject matter was settled in the 2013 presidential petition judgment. The 2013 bench, led by retired Chief Justice Dr. William Itunga, ruled that in case election results are quashed and a rerun ordered, only the petitioner and the president-elect will participate. Aukot who garnered 27,001 votes in the August election, had stated that he will be on the ballot in October, arguing that repeat polls will not be the preserve of President Kenyatta and NASA leader Raila Odinga.
And Parliament alone cannot do it.
IEBC is also battling another petition filed at the High Court by 3 voters. The 3 are seeking to have the current commissioners barred from conducting fresh presidential elections. But the commissioners are now accusing the 3, Brian Asin, Ben Wanakasami, and Kevin Alwanga, of rushing the petition even before the Supreme Court had delivered the full judgment. The IEBC bosses submitted that the High Court does not have jurisdiction to determine the matter and that the powers of the court on the subject can only be invoked after a petition is channeled through Parliament. Enoxikolia, NTV.
Officer the Judge of a Superior Court.
Let's give you a break from all the politics on NTV tonight. We'll be back with more, including...
The event started around 11 p.m. on the 2nd, where the students started blowing whistles and they congregated right here.
University of Nairobi administration attributes closure to acts of violence on school property. damage to school property by students at the institution on Monday night led to the institution's Senate decision to close it on Tuesday.
According to the officials, the offices housed, or some of them housed in the students' welfare compound, were burnt and electronics such as computers and televisions stolen. NTV's Sharon Baranga reports.
Administrators at the University of Nairobi insist that closure of the institution was necessitated by early signs of looming trouble.
The university has received a lot of mob lynching that we were unfair to students and we closed without any valid reason. The students had become unruly and ungovernable and we could not contain them here. And in the interest of their own safety, we decided, the Senate decided that they go home.
The event started around 11 p.m. on 2nd, where the students started blowing whistles and they congregated right here. This space you can see behind us here. One of the events that took place was the burning of the offices of a Student Welfare Authority.
According to the director of the Students Welfare Authority,
where I'm standing right now is where it all begins. When students from the University of Nairobi organize for a protest, they first gather in this small square outside the Students Welfare offices before they head to the streets. Now, on top of this building, we had a CCTV camera that always helped in capturing some of the students that planned for these demonstrations. But unfortunately, it was destroyed, and so it's going to be a little tricky for the administration to identify some of the students who organized for the protest. And just to get a general feeling of what could have led to the university's Senate to close down the institution on the night of 2nd October, we're going to head to these buildings that were damaged by the students during the protest.
Outside are some files and documents that were salvaged from the offices that were burning. At the Students' Data Center, officials believe a mixture of students and outsiders damaged the place, as students who have disciplinary issues have their files stored here. Officials found that there was an attempt to destroy records, which was unsuccessful as they have a backup ready. The school is still assessing the extent of the damage, which they say the students will pay for. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Time to take another short breather. We'll be back with business news. Stay with us.
name is Love Bankley for Syrian Time now. We begin, of course, with the telco, where telecommunications services provider, that's Safaricom, has more women than men, that's in its workforce. But transition to senior management is still skewed, that's in favor of men. But now in senior management says that, of course, there are more men than women. And that those are some of the issues that emerge as the company, which is Kenya's most profitable, released its annual stability report. It was earlier today, and Alex Pwangi reports.
1 million young people enter the workforce every year.
That sobering statistic is a clear indicator of the mega task at hand to have the economy generate jobs and offer youth the opportunity to lead decent lives. On September 25, 2015, the United Nations adopted 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, aiming to end poverty, protect the planet from destruction, and ensure prosperity for all.
Till now, the SDGs has been a very UN thing. But for the first time, businesses are realizing that they need to step up to the table because the SDGs cannot be achieved without a profit.
Safaricom's SDG purpose statement touches on 9 of the 17 SDGs. Gender equality is one of the Sustainable Development Goals, and for Safaricom, a pertinent matter. The company has 51% female staff and 49% male.
We are concerned about transparency so that people can understand why we do what we do. And we want to be fully accountable.
We're certainly pleased with the 51% number, certainly we're pleased with the salary comparison between males and females, but we're not at all happy about the pipeline of women who are coming through the organization, the women who are coming up to senior management. We're not happy about that, but we say if we can show the numbers, next year when you and I are sitting here, you can say, so what did you do about those numbers last year?
But even as the telco boasts creating 486 billion shillings in value for the economy, it had to deal with critical internal management issues, including fraud. The number of staff sacked for involvement in fraud increased to 52 in the year ended March, up from 36 cases last year. The list of fraudulent activities that led to the dismissals included theft, asset misappropriation involving cash collections and devices, and policy breaches involving unauthorized access to data systems. Those sent packing were also involved in fraudulent SIM card swap and breach of rules in the money transfer service M-Pesa's start key issuance. Sustainability reporting is where an organization puts together a report on what it has been doing in social and environmental issues while balancing people, planet, and profit. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
And you need to get your hands on tomorrow's copy of the Business Daily because we'll be expounding on those, of course, staff at Safaricom who were laid off, and just those issues about management and more details on Safaricom's sustainability report on your copy of tomorrow's Business Daily. The Matatu Owners Association has unveiled the new traffic marshals in a step to follow the self-regulating order that was issued by Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko. The marshals will be deployed to various bus stages. That's in order to ensure the smooth flow of traffic.
In a move set to decongest the Nairobi Central Business District, Matatu SACCOs are taking measures to honor the agreement with Governor Mike Sonko by self-regulating themselves. These traffic marshals have been hired by the Matatu Owners Association to help ease the traffic in the CBD. Each SACCO has been given the directive to hire as many marshals as their stages require to make sure there is a smooth flow of vehicles from their areas. MOA Chairman Simon Kimutai says the move is not a ploy to counter the governor's plan of hiring 1,000 traffic marshals, but rather a step towards working together for a similar goal.
We were given self-regulation. We self-regulate and we operate from certain areas. These are areas of Matatu Owners Association membership. So it could have been, it's not anything that is formed to counter anything. The other association will operate at their own areas of jurisdiction.
The association has asked its members to take charge of their business and organize the workers so as to justify their stay in the CBD.
We've told members to take charge of their businesses. The boys that they have employed at their areas now to make sure there's free flow should be given rules and regulations and the do's and the don'ts and the boundaries in which they are supposed to operate from.
The traffic marshals are set to start in their respective areas immediately. Tesele Siloma, NTV.
Now, as the harvesting season in parts of the country comes to an end, the government has said that it will be buying all the maize that farmers present to the National Cereals and Produce Board. That's in order to restock the food reserve. Now, this comes just a week after the NCPB said it will delay buying the grain due to the heavy rains around the country.
And for this purpose, we have programmed to spend Kenya shillings 6 billion. Indeed, as you may be aware, our cereal subsector is currently faced with the emergence of a new pest known as the fall army worm, and this presents a real threat to our future food security. In response, the government has constituted a multi-institutional technical team of experts and has provided shillings 300 million towards containing this pest.
To another story still on matters agriculture, more than 100,000 workers, that's in the tea sector, shall go on strike should their employers fail to adhere to the Labour Court's directive that the parties should dialogue over salary increment dispute. Now, this is according to the Central Organization of Trade Unions, that's KOTU, and the Kenya Plantation and Agricultural Workers Union says that since 2014, employers in the tea industry have failed to implement a 30% CBA that will have seen workers enjoy salary benefits. However, the union says all their attempt to seek audience with the Kenya Tea Growers Association have been met with court orders seeking to bar them from agitating for better pay and also from conducting strikes. Now, the union has since moved to court to compel the tea employers to have a sit-down with them, failure to which they will go on strike.
Those employers in Kericho, those employers in Sotik, those employers in Nandi, those employers in Bomet who are in tea industry will have to pay arrears of 4 years. They have no excuse. They will never avoid. They can run, they can do whatever, they can try to protect themselves in any other way. But there are no Kenyan courts, labor relations court, even if they move to court of appeal, which will allow an open exploitation of workers when workers are due for wage increase. So as Kenya Plantation and Agricultural Workers Union, the sole workers representative in the agricultural sector of our economy, we are saying the employers in tea sector must be prepared to meet the union and review, including renewing the already elapsed collective bargaining agreement, 2 collective bargaining agreements.
And the Ministry of Education has indicated that it will employ over 10,000 teachers. That's in readiness for the free day secondary education, that's in short FDSE, to begin in January next year. As per the supplementary budget, that's for 2017-2018. The government allocated 23.5 billion shillings, but Education Cabinet Secretary, that's Dr. Matiang'i, has indicated that this amount will not go towards the hiring of teachers and will be used to build school infrastructure and purchase examination and reading material. Now, the amount is below the 46.2 billion shillings required to fully implement the FDSC, but the ministry says it is in discussion with the Teachers Service Commission, that's TSC, on how to make this work. And that's all we had for NTV Business News. Well, also I said my name twice earlier, so well, I'm Laban Cliff-Onsero. Let's do this again tomorrow. It's enough for me, and a lot more after the break with my colleagues.
The Institute of Pension Management is organizing the first ever pension awards in Kenya.
discharged from Nakuru Hospital a week ago, but she cannot leave the hospital just yet.
Her mother cannot raise the hospital bill. Bridget Ngana paid the family a visit and filed this report.
This is how Faith Nduta, a class 3 pupil at Kisulisuli Primary School, looked like when she was brought into this hospital 2 weeks ago. She had been kidnapped and her assailants left her with deadly injuries.
Nilimtafuta nikamkosa, kumbe alikuja akachukuliwa na watu wenye waeleweki baka waleo. Akaenda akatupwa place yenye inaitwa Ndarugu Baruti. Kwa vile alitupwa Ndarugu Baruti, sasa hapo ndipo nikaweza kupigiwa simu nikapata kwa Medihill Hospital.
Nduta needed immediate surgery to save her intestines.
We took the ICU, we stabilized the baby. Later, our consultant laparoscopic surgeon, that is Dr. Ayman Nasser, he wants to do immediate explorative laparotomy.
She was discharged a week ago, but her bills that account for more than 600,000 shillings have forced the hospital to detain her.
Wenye walimchukua narudisha shukrani hata kwa madaktari waliweza kuchukua Faith na wakamtibu. Naona wameendelea vizuri kutibu Faith.
We given a discount of 50,000 from the hospital side. So others people should also, we are requesting to help.
Nduta's case has gone viral on local WhatsApp groups that have since begun raising funds to offset her hospital bill. The police are still pursuing those who caused harm on Faith, but her family is now optimistic that she will now be able to resume her normal life since her surgery was successful. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru County.
As mentioned in that story by the manager of that hospital, your help and support is very much welcome.
Indeed, we take another short break. Sports news is next.
The national football team, the Harambee Stars, is acclimatizing well in Basra, Iraq, ahead of its 2 FIFA international friendlies. Kenya will take on hosts Iraq tomorrow before tackling Thailand on Sunday. Coach Stanley Okumbi took charge of the team's second training session this evening at the Basra International Stadium. The team comprises of, among others, foreign-based players, including Spain-based Michael Olunga, Georgia-based Eric Ouma, and Bulgaria-based Abud Omar, among others. Zesco defender David Owino will wear the captain's armband in place of the injured Victor Wanyama. The friendly against Kenya will be the second on home soil for Iraq after FIFA lifted a ban on the country's stadia. Now, that's the Harambee Stars in Iraq. The Ghana Black Stars, are in Kenya, and the head coach Kwesi Appiah says the absence of star players in his squad, such as the Ayew brothers, will not affect the team's performance during Saturday's 2018 World Cup qualifiers against host Uganda. The Black Stars have been preparing for the crucial match here in Nairobi since Monday, and South Olale covered the team's training session here at the Kasarani Stadium.
A 21-man Black Stars squad led by Atletico Madrid attacking midfielder Thomas Partey arrived at Kasarani Stadium for the team's second training session in Kenya ahead of Saturday's 2018 World Cup qualifiers against host Uganda. With the absence of the Ayew brothers, experienced Asamoah Gyan and injured Christian Atsu from the squad, head coach Kwesi Appiah hopes his team can collect maximum points against the Uganda Cranes.
That does not mean anybody is out of the team, but it's about whoever is wearing the jersey needs to prove that he deserves to be in the team. As simple as that.
The on-form Atletico Madrid forward scored a hat-trick in Ghana's 5-1 thrashing of Congo. The team has also been boosted by the inclusion of Leicester City's defender Daniel Amati, as well as Sweden-based midfielder Kingsley Safo. Out of the 21 travelling players, 19 play professional football in Europe. 7 players will be making their debut for Black Stars, including France-based goalkeeper Laurent Ziggy, who featured in the Under-20 World Cup in New Zealand. 3 other players in the squad featured in Ghana's 4-1 win over rivals Nigeria during the final of the West Africa Cup Championship last month in Ghana.
Players that are in now, their confidence levels are rising slowly, and for that reason, I believe when we go out there, there's not too much pressure on them, so they're able to exert themselves.
However, the Black Stars tactician is also cautious over Uganda, who beat them 1-0 in the last visit in Kampala during the 2015 AFCON qualifiers.
We all know that playing in Kampala is not going to be an easy game. By saying that, as you can see, there are so many new players in the team, and they have a task ahead of them, to prove that they deserve to be in the team. I'm building a new team, and anyone who wears the jersey needs to not prove to me, to prove to all Ghanaians.
The Cranes, who stand visiting Egypt 1-0 in the World Cup qualifiers in Kampala, held the Ghanaians to a barren draw during the first leg played in West Africa. A win for Ghana, who lie third in Group E with 5 points, 4 adrift leaders Egypt and 2 points behind Uganda, will boost their chances of securing a ticket to Russia. Group leaders Egypt will face Congo in the other Pool E 2018 World Cup qualifier. The Black Stars will wind up their 3-day residential training in Kenya on Thursday before heading to Kampala, Uganda for Saturday's crucial World Cup qualifier game. Seth Olale, NTV, Kasarani Stadium, Nairobi.
Well, that was indeed our exclusive there. The Black Stars allowing Seth Olale into the Kasarani Stadium to cover their training session here in Nairobi. Now, the newly elected president of the National Olympic Committee of Kenya, Paul Tergat, today started his reign at NOC after being handed over his instruments of power. Tergat and the other 12 board members who were elected last Friday were also given the official records of NOC by the previous office bearers. Tergat, who took over from the outgoing president Kipchoge Keino, stated that his major goal as the new president is to cater wholeheartedly for the sports person in the country, and also to move NOC from the cloud of corruption and mismanagement that has bedeviled it in the recent past.
For these first 2 days,
we do have a lot of work that maybe we need to see to it that it is fast-tracked, especially the Commonwealth Games preparation. We are so late in time, and we want to see to it that we make sure that we get things right.
Deaf-Olympian Simon Cherono was today named winner of the inaugural StarTime Sports Personality of the Month award. Cherono was exceptional at the 2017 Deaf Olympics Games in Samsun, Turkey, where he won 2 gold medals in the 10,000 and 5,000 meters, as well as bronze in the 1,500 meters. For his exploits, Cherono walked away with a cash prize of 100,000 Kenya shillings, as well as a StarTimes 40-inch flat-screen television set, courtesy of the sponsors StarTimes. Cherono beat fellow Deaf-Olympian Daniel Kiptum, Kenya Simba's keeper Darwin Kiza, as well as teen athletes Gloria Mulei and Dominic Sampson.
Shake hands. Okay. Please shake this guy.
Now, these years, Nalat Ga Cross Country has been renamed in honor of the late Athletics Kenya President Isaiah Kiplagat, who passed away in August last year. The event is the brainchild of Kiplagat and will be held in his home county, as always, that is Nandi County, on the 14th of October. Olympic and Berlin Marathon champion Eliud Kipchoge will be the brand ambassador for what will now be called the Isaiah Kiplagat Memorial Nalat Ga Cross Country meeting. 3 million shillings total prize money will be up for grabs, with the senior men and women running 8 kilometers each.
I got involved reason is that this is an open course. Secondly, that this is where talent is being nurtured. Thirdly, that this is where empowerment on education, on talent, and also on health is being done. Fourthly, is that our president was actually an empowerment to the society, to all youth, especially with my age and those who are actually below my age.
Now, the national women's volleyball team, the Malkia Strikers, depart tomorrow for the Africa Nations Championship in Cameroon. Meanwhile, the men's national volleyball team will also take part in this year's men's edition, which is due to be hosted in Cairo, Egypt, from the 22nd to 29th of October. The team, comprised of young players, defied odds to book a slot in the Continental Extravaganza, thanks to a 3-1 win of 25-23, 25-22, 23-25, 25-21 against the host Rwanda in July. The tournament will act also as a qualifier for the 2018 FIVB World Championship, with the top 3 teams of the 16 confirming their ticket to the finals in Tokyo, Japan. United States of America are the defending champions. Apologies for the tag there. That was the basketball tag, and we were talking about volleyball. That does it for NTV Sport. Have a good night.
NTV Sport in association with Grants.